Hey everybody, it's Ron from Ron's Basement. Thank you for joining me today. Yes, you. I appreciate you being here. And today I have a video for you about what I believe to be one of the greatest value propositions within the gold and silver mining sector. Yes, for you. So thank you for being here. The Mr. Rogers neighborhood for gold fanatics. And today's video is about Equinox Gold. Equinox, I was astounded earlier today, which doesn't happen very often, but I was astounded to see that the current price of Equinox stock is actually less than where it was during the height of the March 2020 COVID crisis, when the stock market crashed, when the price of gold went down significantly, and all the gold mining equities went down. I was like, what? I mean, Equinox has been beaten up over the last couple of years, and I think unfairly so, but what that creates is a great buying opportunity for people who can have a bit of foresight and maybe want to skate where the puck is going to be. Or maybe in this case, skate where a whole bag of pucks is going to be, okay? At $1,800 gold, excuse me, Equinox, we'll call it Equinox, that sounds a little more sophisticated. Equinox is generating solid profit, excuse me, and cash flow, okay? And at the same time, from a balance sheet perspective, the market cap of the company is $2 billion. So when you buy the stock, right, that's part of your money. That's that $2 billion at the current stock price. You're actually getting $2.3 billion worth of assets, and that's after you take out the debt. Okay, the net tangible assets of the company are $2.3 billion. So that means that, like, if you do some fancy Ron's Basement math, if you put for every 85 cents you put into Equinox, you're actually getting $1 worth of assets. And these are assets that are making money and have great growth potential. It's really crazy, kind of what the market can do sometimes. And right now, I think the market has significantly mispriced the value of Equinox Gold. But before I forget, don't make any financial decisions based upon the information that I'm sharing with you today. This is just my opinion. Now, the company is also headed by Mr. Ross Beaty. That says enough. If you know anything, or if you've been around the gold mining sector for a while, Ross Beaty is the, pardon the pun, gold standard of executives and management within the mining sector. He's I don't know him personally, but from what I understand, on every level, the guy is a top-notch individual. And as a stockholder, what's even more important is that the string of companies that he started in the past have all been highly successful. Every last one of them. He handpicked, when he started this company, Christian Milau to kind of found the company with, and another guy named Greg Smith, both of which also I'm totally impressed with. And I think a lot of analysts within the gold mining sector are also impressed with. And the investment communications rep, Rylan. I mean, all these people are top notch. I've only personally spoken with Rylan, but I mean, you just sense when you deal with Equinox that you're dealing with quality. Okay. Also, what's unique about them is they have a very high level of inside ownership. Ross Beaty owns, I think, almost 8 or 9% of the company. That's highly unusual, especially for a company of this size, to have that much inside ownership. I also know that both Greg Smith and Christian Milau, I've heard them say in interviews that they both have what they refer to as significant amounts of their personal wealth invested in the company. So, from a management perspective, you can't ask for much more. From a financial perspective, again, something that I think a lot of people are forgetting about is that they own a huge chunk. They're a gold mining company, right? but they spun out a copper company called Solaris Resources, and they still own a huge chunk of that, which is worth in the hundreds of millions of dollars. When they acquired their Greenstone mine up in Canada with Premier Gold, they then had a kind of a spin-out company that was formed called I-80 Gold out of that. They own a big chunk of I-80 Gold, I think maybe 20 or 25%. And then most recently, when they sold their Mercedes mine, which was one of their smaller mines in Mexico, for $100 million, I believe it was, they also are retaining a big chunk of Bear Creek Mining, which is the company that will be operating the Mercedes mine. So not only does Equinox itself organically have great potential, but they've got these big investments in other gold mining companies and a big copper project investment that have done very, very well. I mean, back in March of 2020, what was the Solaris deal worth? I don't really know, but I doubt that it was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. But yet the market cap of the company has not really reflected the appreciation of these investments. The company is long-term oriented. I've heard that over and over. When I hear the management, whether it's Ross, Christian, or Greg speak, sure, they want to produce as much gold as they can every quarter, no doubt about it. But they're not going to do that at the expense of making good, solid, long-term decisions, okay? Because those quarters, 2 years, 5 years from now, they want to be making even more and more gold. So they've been making very solid, long-term decisions for the benefit of the company. They also have 30 million ounces of measured and indicated gold that they own, right? And they're on their way to becoming a 1 million ounce a year producer. Now, I don't think I have to break my calculator out. At 1 million ounces, that would be about 30 years worth of production capacity, right? And I think they're going to surpass that, and they'll continue to add to that measured and indicated number. But they've got like a lot of gold, right? And then I just thought of this, and I heard one of the managers say this in an interview. That gold is not like sitting out in some far-flung place. Most all of that 30 million ounces is kind of within the confines of currently producing projects, meaning it's not up sitting in the Golden Triangle with no mill and no mine and no permit. That 30 million ounces is there, and I guess you would call it producible in the near-term future. So I think the company's at a tipping point, okay, in a good way. I think it's hard to put this into words, but I think they're getting to a point that with all the acquisitions they've done, all the mines they've been building, that they're getting ready to begin to harvest that going forward, right? Like they've put in a lot of work, they've made a lot of sacrifices, they made, this past year, maybe the past 2 years, they've made a lot of decisions based on long-term factors that now we're there. Now we're at the long term, and that things are starting to tip, and that production is going to increase, cost will start to decrease, and if the gold price cooperates, the profit potential is exponential. Stock price appreciation potential, is exponential. I think the fourth quarter is going to be surprisingly good, okay? And I'm going to go through now for the last few minutes what goes through my mind when I think about kind of what I think are the 4 geographic areas of Equinox, and why I think that in the fourth quarter we could get a real positive surprise from a production perspective. Hopefully their costs are going to come down as well. Okay, so when I think about Equinox, I start with Mexico. They acquired Leagold right around the time of March of 2020, okay? Right around the time the coronavirus hit. So they had this big project in Mexico. Unfortunately, COVID hit, and I think there were a couple shutdowns, during that first 6-9 months because of COVID. After that, they had problems with their communities, some blockades, so that shut things down. COVID, hopefully, in terms of its impact on the mining industry, is fading away. In terms of the blockades, those have been resolved, and it looks like, you know, the relationship with the community has been improving. So, you know, during the last, let's say, year and a half that they had that mine, it was a difficult environment between COVID and blockades, and it's the type of mine, from what I understand, believe it's a big heap leach mine that, like, you know, when it gets shut down, it has kind of, it's not like it's on off, right? There's a big process to get the materials through and to harvest the materials. So I think here in the fourth quarter, we're going to maybe start to see the benefits of, like, the last 6 months of the mine continuously producing, and hopefully we're going to see some higher production numbers. I think there's also some organic improvements, you know, some stripping that was going on to get to some higher grade ore and all that. That could also prove beneficial in the near term. And then in the long term, they've got some, you know, as long as their relations with the community stand up, there's some great other growth-oriented projects they can do at their Mexican operations. All right, next let's go down to Brazil. I don't really know a lot about the Brazilian operations. There's like 3 mines there now, from what I understand. But things have gone so well, knock on wood, that I haven't really like paid that close of attention. And I don't want to take it for granted, but I know that their Brazilian operations, their current operations, have done very well. And again, there's some organic room for improvement within those operations, which could prove beneficial in the near term. Now, they do have a brand new mine they're just wrapping up the construction of, that's going to be coming on in, well, any time now, actually, hopefully. I know they've had a lot of rain down there, so hopefully that's not going to delay it too much, but they should have a new mine up and running, which obviously is going to add to production in Brazil as well. Brazil's done very well. And one thing I do like about what they're doing down there is they have like a zone where a lot of these mines are all located, and so they're kind of combining, you know, they're in a fancy way, what you could say is they're working to benefit from some economies of scale with those mines being, you know, so close to each other, sharing resources, that type of thing. Okay, so Mexico can grow. Let's just hope for no more shutdowns or blockades, and organically, and there's some big growth projects. Brazil's doing well. There's a big new mine coming on as well, right? And some room for organic growth. To go up to Canada, nothing's being produced in Canada right now, but there's a huge construction project on their Greenstone project, of which they own 60%. It's going to be like hundreds of thousands of ounces a year in production. Again, they own 60% of it, but it's safe jurisdiction up in Canada. It was permitted by a guy named Steve Lines, if I'm correct, who's now permitting the Springpole project for First Mining Gold, which I think is the most overlooked stock in the gold mining sector, but that's for a different video at a different time. Equinox has really bright growth potential with this Canadian mine, the Greenstone mine. And then there's the United States, Castle Mountain, which is doing pretty good, right? There's some room within the current confines for some good organic growth. However, there's a plan that once the Greenstone mine is finished with construction, which should be sometime in 2024, that then there's a big potential expansion project at Castle Mountain in California. So that's it, folks. I think the fourth quarter could be a surprise, okay? They already said in their third quarter release that they'd produced 85,000 ounces of gold in October, if I remember that correctly. If you multiply 85 times 3, 65. I apologize. 65. Yeah, 65,000. You better check, okay? Don't take my number. 65,000 times 3. I believe that would be like record production for them for a quarter. And that would be awesome. These guys have been working hard. I'm with them. I'm invested in this company. I think that when you look out at the kind of spectrum of the mid-tier producers, they've been kind of beaten down a little too far, a little unfairly. Now, there's risk, right? The gold price could go down. There could be more community relations issues. There's risk with everything. But when I look at the big picture, the risk reward, for at least for me with Equinox right now, looks very compelling. Hey, I appreciate you watching. I hope you found my video useful, maybe a little bit entertaining. You're always welcome here in Ron's basement. And I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.